Just before we get started, one thing to be an interactive working session, just to get used to the tool. And so if you haven't already, log into your Monster account. If you do not have a Monster account yet, if you could send a message in the chat, we won't be able to get one turned right around for you. Added to the system. Okay, so if you can, as we're doing, log into your account. Maggie from Monster, who's going to take us through the training, will add in certain points and then actually have you do the activity, whether that's searching for a resume or setting up a search agent or creating a file or a folder. I just want to make sure that when you leave the session today, that you're comfortable using the tool. I will turn it over to Maggie. We've had a few dealers that have made very good use of the tool so far and it's been searching the resume database and had some good success and that they're getting from it. So the goal is that everybody's comfortable, everybody can start using it, start to attract some candidates as you start to ramp up recruiting for next year. So with that, let me turn to Maggie Wilson, who will take us through the training and demonstrations today. Maggie?
Thanks, Bob. All right, I am going to share my screen with everybody. All right, well, welcome everybody. So as Bob alluded to, we're setting this training session up a little bit differently. What I kind of put together is we'll start with me kind of demonstrating a live piece, and then I've got some slides that I'm going to have you kind of then mimic, basically what I did in your own account. So that this way you can actually go in, you can try it out, and just get a feel for the system so that by the end of the training, you've at least been in there. Obviously, if some of you do not have accounts, you can kind of just follow along, which is fine. But it will give you the idea of, what it's going to be like as you start recruiting for 2022. So with that being said, I am going to just switch my screen over here and start from the beginning. So since I know some of you have not been in, I figured we'd actually start with the login piece this time. And, again, we'll stop and I'll let all of you kind of take a minute to log in as well. So it's very simple though. Let me back up here for a second. You can just, when you come to monster.com, just go to For Employers in the upper right. And then there's a sign in button. So you do have to click the sign in button. And that will bring you to this page. You always want to come to this Monster side, right? So this is currently more of a beta test that Monster is working on. So that is not something that you're going to go into at this point in time. To access the resume database, you have to go to sign into Monster. So you just simply click sign into Monster on the left, and that will bring you to your login screen. So again, those of you who have your username and password, go ahead and you don't have to do it right this second, but you can go ahead and log in. Those of you who don't have it, like was mentioned earlier, go put that into the chat. So if we do need to create one for you, we can do that. So I'm just logging in. And my screen's going to slow down. But
Hey, Maggie, just one thing, just to clarify for everybody too. I think you're going to focus on the technician recruitment in this session, but I just want to make sure that, again, everybody's aware that you can actually use the tool for other roles and other positions that you have. We'll focus this on the technician recruitment, specifically, but didn't want people to, you could only use it for that.
No, absolutely. Good point. So once you're logged into your account, you're going to come to a page that looks similar to mine. It's not going to be identical because I might have some different things that you don't see. And plus I use my account for different training purposes. But that being said, when you come in, you'll come up to My Candidates. So that's going to be at the top of your page. And then you're going to click on Search Monster. Search Monster will be the last option you have under My Candidates. And that will bring you right into the tool. So pretty straightforward there in terms of logging in. But since I know some of you have not had the chance to kind of go in and play around with the tool, we wanted to make sure that you were at least successful in, getting in, and then we'll start some searches. So we can use that as our first practice session. So I'm going to load this up so in case you need a little help. But if you all want to go in and go to monster.com and walk through the login process, it should only take, a minute or so. But take the opportunity to go in, log in, and then we'll circle back and start on the next piece. And if you have questions as you're going through, please speak up, put them in the chat, whatever the case might be. All right, everyone's being quiet, so I'm assuming you're all being successful in getting through the login process, but we'll give it a little bit longer and then we'll jump over to the search. Perfect.
Do you want us to do emojis, like everybody just put their hand up when they're done, or?
You don't have to. It might make it a little bit crazy, but I see some people are commenting on it, so you can feel free to if you want.
I think we're good. I think we can go to the next step.
Yeah.
If anybody has an issue, let us know.
I agree. All right. So the next piece of the puzzle, right, is to create a search. So as Bob mentioned, we're talking about a forklift technician today, but this can be used for any search that you need to do, right? So any hires that you need to make, come in here, play around with the search. So, whoops, sorry, my mouse is getting a little crazy there. So when you come into the search, as a reminder for those of you who have kind of used it and knew something new for the rest of you, you've got the semantic search and you've got the Boolean search. We're going to focus on the semantic search. It's just much more straightforward. You really just need to enter in, a job title, a keyword, and kind of move forward with that. The Boolean, for those of you who know what that is, you do still need to use your ands, your ors, your different operators. And you are more than welcome to use that for your searches if you know Boolean. So I know some people do, some people don't. But like I said, we're going to focus on semantic today. Now, for something like a forklift technician, we can, of course, put a job title in of forklift technician, right? But we could also use things like field service technician, maybe even mechanic. So there's different job titles that you are probably going to want to use when it comes to entering that information in, right? Because different places are going to call it something different, potentially. So we want to be cognizant of that as we're putting in our job titles. So I would probably start with a broad one and then add in more. So I'm going to say field service technician to start off with. And you could also, actually, I'll mention this while I'm here, you could also just do technician, right? So I could start off really broad. It might get me back a few too many, but then I could add in, forklift, right, as my skill and keyword. So depending on how you want to play around with this, you could go ahead and go very broad and then start to narrow things down. This one was in Texas. So I'm going to go ahead and click search. And I've got, almost 2,000 people coming back, which is definitely more than I need to look at. So one of the first things that you want to do when you come in here is you want to think about, how many matches am I getting back? Is it 200? Is it 1800, right? What does that look like? So once you get it back, if you are this having this many matches or more, right, it's going to be more than you want to look at. So you want to refine it. So here I might start with my job title because I know I did go long, right? So I could do like a field service technician. I could also add maybe a mechanic, right? Again, depending on what the skill set is for what I need, I can go ahead and enter that in.
Hey, Maggie, there
So
was
someone
that came in that
yeah,
asked,
I
when you
just saw it.
job title, is it only job or is it any job the candidate has on their resume?
Nope, good question. So it is, when you search by job title, it's looking for any job title on the resume. So it's not looking at the most recent one. It could be looking at some older ones, but we'll talk about in a minute how you can kind of work through that, and also look for people who maybe are in certain career levels, right? For the role that you're looking to fill. So we'll talk more about that in just a couple minutes.
Thanks.
All right, so we added some more job titles so we can narrow things down a little bit. Now, what I probably would do here is, because I know technician's really making this a little bit broad, I might actually take out technician as my job title because I'm realizing it's too broad for this particular search, and then narrow things down based on a more specific job title. So that's one way to narrow it down. Other ways is, remember, we've got all these other search criteria that we can enter in. So it could be something like work authorization. Do they have to be U.S. citizens or permanent residents or green card holders in order to have the job? Or is the position open to things like visas or sponsorships? So you could play around with that. It may not be something that you come across too often in this particular field, but if it is, you can go ahead and kind of narrow down that way. One of the things I was talking about in regards to the job title would be to use something like years of experience. So you can narrow things down for more entry-level job seekers, right? So you could say, I'm looking for someone with maybe less than 3 years of experience. Now, keep in mind, this is looking at the total work history on the person's resume. So you do want to go a little bit broader. You could do less than 1 year, but that's definitely going to be a finite number of resumes that come back. On the flip side of that, though, you might be looking for someone with more seniority. So maybe you say, I'm looking for someone with 5 to 10 years, right? So again, within that, whatever your sweet spot is, you could enter that in, and then the people that have that years of experience that you're looking for will come to the top of the list. So that will kind of help in terms of what kind of level of, what career level, I should say, that they're, that the job seekers are in. The other piece too is companies, right? So obviously there are certain companies out there that would have people that have this type of experience, right? Some might be competitors, some might just be other companies have this skill set. So that's something else you can do, is you could actually just search by company names. You may not even put in like job titles. You might put forklift in the skills, and then you might just put in those company names, and you can just continue to add additional company names and run that search. So again, that's just another way to kind of narrow things down and look for other people that might be the right fit.
Hey, Maggie, one of the feedback we got, Jessica at Eastern, her folks like the ability to only show resumes with a certain level of recency, so that they were seeing, people that had updated their resume recently, active or maybe more interested. There you go.
Yep. Absolutely. So that is the resume updated section. And that is something that you can come in here and, as Jessica did, you can use things like, within a week, right? That's probably a short time frame. But the nice thing is like 3 months or 6 months. That's a much more active job seeker generally. But you could also go further back. So you do have that flexibility to say kind of how old you want the resumes to be in terms of when job seekers last updated it. So that's a great option too. And you can even just pick your own date range. So you could put in any date range. It's going to default to a year, but I could go further back, or I could go, 7 months, hypothetically. So I can kind of play around with that. So that's a great option too. For other positions too, so for positions that might require an education level, you've got the education field. And then one other one I wanted to mention before we move on is exclude keyword. So this can be helpful too. Sometimes there's people coming back that meet your criteria, right? But for whatever reason, they're not the right fit, right? So you can enter in keywords, company names, right? So, a dealership, your dealership name, you might want to exclude that so you don't bring back people who previously worked for you, because you have another way of reaching out to them. So you could certainly put in different keywords there that would help kind of narrow things down, or at least pull people out that may not be quite the right fit. And then once you do refine it, you would just click update. And I don't even know what I put in at this point, but I got it down for me. And that was my ultimate goal, was get it to a more manageable number so that I, can actually look through these resumes and find people who are in fact the right fit. All right.
And Maggie, one thing, because David's, I noticed the second resume here says current, they're a driver, but previous field service technician.
Yeah.
So it's a good example, I think, of what David was getting at, is it will see that what their current role is, but then it will show previous, so that at least they had the experience at some point. Maybe they're interested.
Yep, absolutely. And like this person was, I'm guessing, in the military based on Air Reserve, or no, not that one. Oh, this person was in the Air Force. But you can see things like that too. With military service, sometimes it's called something a little bit different. So it's something that you can take a look at right from here, and then dig a little deeper just by going into that profile, right? Because the profile is going to show you more of what's on their resume. And then you can make that decision of, do I want to reach out to this person? Do I want to look at their resume? Because remember, once you look at their resume, or maybe send them an email or put them in a folder, we'll talk more about those in a minute, but that is going to use one of your views out of the inventory. So that's also going to tell you here that you viewed it. And remember, that viewed icon stays there for 30 days. And then after 30 days, it will fall off. But again, you can see all of that information in here.
Just for the benefit of the group, the Air Reserve technician, that's probably an Air Force Air Reserve who also works as a civilian during the week. So that they work, 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, but they also serve as a civilian during the week. So it's a dual role.
Good point. All right, so why don't you all go in now and create a search? Some of you may have been doing it along with me, which is totally fine. But I just want to give everyone just a minute to kind of go in, get a search pulled back, preferably a forklift technician, but for some reason, if you're not hiring for that, you can obviously do a different search. So we'll give everyone just a minute to go in and do that if you haven't already, and then we'll move on to the next piece. And if there's any questions, so if you've already done it and you've got a question you want to ask, feel free to chime in or put it in the chat at this point, because we can take those questions too.
It's Jess. I have a question. What is, can you just go over the private candidates, like when you're the candidate types? I'm curious about that. What is that?
Yeah, what is that? What does it do? All right, I'm going to switch my page over. I don't think you necessarily need to see the slide, but I can go back there in a minute. So private candidates, where are they? There we are. So private candidates, some of you probably already noticed that this is checked off by default. It's not something that you have to go in and check. And basically what private candidates are is they are job seekers who have uploaded their resume on Monster, but have chosen to apply to jobs, right? As opposed to have their resume searchable. So it's not currently searchable in the database, but one of the bonuses of using Search Monster is that when you use the campaigns, and these are kind of the email blasts for those of you who didn't sit on the first one or don't remember, those are the email blasts. And when that goes out, what's happening is the system obviously ran your search. We got our results back, but it's also matching against private candidates so that when those campaigns go out, those emails can go to those private candidates that match your search criteria. So it gives you a larger candidate pool by including your emails going out to those private candidates. And then if the private candidates, they get your email, they say, oh, you know what, I would be a good fit for this job, I would be interested. And they either, reply back to you or they, apply for the job, whatever you kind of ask them to do in that email, then their information will be sent to you.
So it's almost like an invite to apply by keeping that box checked if I'm sending emails out.
Yeah, exactly. But they are getting your email and they are matched to the criteria that you entered in. So it's, so it's not going to be someone who's not a good fit.
So always keep this box checked.
I would absolutely do that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Maggie, this is Evelyn. So I'm unclear. So if that's selected, they get an email notification that they were part of a search?
No, so good clarification question. So not that they were part of a search. What would happen is if you keep this checked and you use the email blast or the campaigns, they will get your email from your campaign. So in other words, yeah, so that's how it would spread out. So if you don't send the campaign, they would not get an email. You do have to send the campaign in order for them to get the email.
And then, is that something that we can go over to, just like a refresher for the sending out, those email campaigns?
Mm-hmm.
When we get there, if we have time.
Yeah, no.
I think, Jessica, what I would recommend is we have just a whole call on the campaigns, because what we want to do HYG is whatever campaigns we come up with, we should give it to you guys, and then you guys will blast. Like maybe HVAC, for example, we're looking at HVAC technicians, and then you would do your filter and then blast them, right? But we can help.
You're going to do a separate call just for that.
Just for that, I think so.
Okay.
So that Kelly and that marketing team is also here's how that works, and we can kind of come up with the strategy as a team and how we want to deploy that campaign area together.
Okay.
Is that okay, Maggie? If we ask for another one just on campaigns?
Yeah, we can definitely try and figure something out for you. That shouldn't be an issue. All right. Okay, so I'm assuming everyone got their searches done at this point. So once you've got your search done, right? We talked about how when you come in, and I don't know where William went. He's in my list here somewhere. Must be further down. Anyway, oh, there he is, right there. When I clicked on, his profile, I got to view it. Then I can see his resume. Now I get the viewed icon. Remember, I said the viewed icon stays there for 30 days. In that time, you've got all your actions that you can use, right, to reach out to William. So that might be you want to put him in a folder, right? And you've got this folder icon right here. And all you would do is you would click on it. And if you've got a folder created, you could go ahead and put him in that folder. If not, you would just click on Create Folder. I will call it my forklift technician. And you can even add a note if you want. So if you wanted to remind yourself of something, and then that will stick to his resume while it's in the folder, or in the database too. You'll be able to see it there as well. And notice that you can actually make that note company-wide or private. Now, I know you're all set up as your individual dealerships. So if there was someone else within your dealership that was using this, that's who would be able to see the company-wide option. Otherwise, it's just private. They could still see that a note was added. It just you wouldn't see the whole note. And then I could just say, right, whatever I wanted to write. It would obviously be something better than that. Excuse me. And then I can click add to folder. And then he gets added to the folder, and that's tracked under the activity section, right? So I get that little person there that lets me know I did something with his resume. And then if I go under activity, I could see my note, right? And then I can also see that I added him to a folder. Okay. Other ones in here that you might utilize would be download. So that would just download the Word version of his resume. And then forward candidate would allow me to forward the resume to myself, to maybe someone else within your dealership that wants to review it. So you've got some options there. So those are probably the most those will probably be the most commonly used ones. Now, if you want to get to that folder again, right? So you put them in the folder, but how do you get back to them? And so you get back to them by coming over here to folders. So I can click on folders right from here, or I can come up to my candidates and I can click on manage candidates. Either one will bring me into my folders. The benefit of clicking folders here is that it will actually open a new tab for you. So I like this because then I can kind of toggle back and forth between the two. I can go into my folders, but then if I want to get back to my search, I can easily get back to my search. Now you'll see, like, here's the person that I just added, but over on the left here, I can just expand my folders. And you can see I've got lots of different folders, so you can have many different folders. They could be by position, they could be by, you know, like a rec number. I mean, they could, you know, however you think it's easiest to keep track of your folders, you can choose to keep track of them. So I can say forklift technician, and then I would see everybody that I put in here. All right. Let's go ahead, and if you haven't been doing this with me, we'll give everyone a 30 seconds or a minute to do it. Why don't you go ahead and find a candidate that you like, oops, sorry, got ahead of myself, and add them to a folder. And then also, if there's any questions while we're giving everyone a minute to do this, we can bring those up now as well. All right. I think we'll keep going. I don't see any questions coming in, but I will keep going, and then we'll, whoops, not what I wanted to do. But if there's any questions, just let me know. Oops. Hang on, everybody. All right. So we have our search here. We went and we added people to our folders. We found our folders, right? So what else do we want to do? And actually, you know what? I didn't have you find your folder. If you want to go in and find your folder as well, that's probably not a bad idea because they showed it to you all at once. So try clicking on that folders and bringing up the candidates.
Now I have a question. Okay, so when you click that folder and it opens up in a new tab, I'm not going to lose my search, correct? Like
correct. Yep. Okay,
that's why it opened up a new tab. That's nice. So I'm not, you know, having to start over on the search. I can just keep adding it to the folders from that search.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Perfect. That's nice.
Yeah, that's why I like doing it that way.
On that note, are you able to keep and save a search criteria?
Yes, we were just getting there. So there's two pieces that I want to talk about. So the first is that, I'm going to go back to the dashboard. Every search that you create, it will automatically save that search for you. And if you look, like I've got all these searches saved, right? And I've got 19 pages of them because obviously I do this a lot. So in time, as you do more searches, you'll end up having these searches saved. So you can get back to it anytime. But what's even better is if I go back into my search, once you have your search to a point where it's good, right? You're getting back the people you want. This is the right search for the position that you're recruiting for, right? Down at the bottom, so down at the bottom of the search criteria, you'll notice there's this section here that says enable notifications. This is what we call, you can call it a search agent. It's called notifications in the system. But what it's doing for you is that once I turned it so that it became that bluish green color, now what's going to happen is that tonight and every night going forward until I turn it off, the system's going to run a search for me. And it's going to run my search, and it's going to look to see if there's any new matches, new resume matches in the system in the last 24 hours. If there's new resume matches, the system's going to send me an email so that tomorrow morning, right, I check my email and I say, look, there's an email from Monster saying that I've got new matches. So I can open that email and then I'll be able to click a link and it will bring me into my search and I'll be able to see if there's new matches. If there's no new matches, so it runs Friday night, right? Or we'll say Sunday night. Monday you come in and there's no new email. Well, that's because there was no new resumes that match your search criteria. So it's not going to spam you. You're not going to get an email every day, regardless whether there's matches or not. You're only going to get emails on days that there's new matches. So it's a great way to kind of do that initial search and start working on the people that are a good fit, but then let the system do some of the work for you so that then you just have to kind of review the resume and say, okay, yep, they're a good fit, or you know what, no, this one's not the right fit. So that's what those notifications will do. And then to go back to your dashboard, any search you see that has that little blue bell lets you know that the notification's enabled. So when you do make that hire, you can always come back in and simply turn that off. So now you won't get those emails anymore.
Maggie, maybe I missed this, but what if we just wanted to see the delta? Like, we don't want to, maybe the notifications are just too much and we just want to go into the system and say, okay, what has been added new to my search criteria?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So if you don't want to get notifications, what you would do is when you come back in, right? So the next day or whatever the case is, you would just click on your search. So this is the one we just created. I would click on it. And then that's where you can use your resume updated option too. So you can just say, change it to within 1 day, click update, and there's no new matches today. So, but tomorrow there might be. So you could just come in here and run that quick update and you can see it that way. And you could do that. So if you had 3 or 4 searches or however many searches you had active, you could come back in and say, oh, let me check it for my executive assistant, hypothetically. So someone has a question in there. David put in, I've been getting email search results with only 7% match. What am I doing wrong? So you're not necessarily doing anything wrong. So something to kind of think about, and I'm going to back this up so I get some more matches because I want to be able to show you. So how the match score works is it's all kind of behind the scenes, right? It's an algorithm. And you're going to have the people at the top that are your, higher matches, right? That might be 93%, it might be 85, who knows? But you have to think that there are going to be matches that, based on the system, is not necessarily, based on what the system thinks, I should say, are not necessarily as good of matches. Like if I go to page 25, look, I've got some 16% matches. And basically what that match score is telling you is that these people match your criteria. They have your requirements. This person was, either a field service technician or a mechanic, and they have forklift experience. But chances are that experience is typically older or a very short time frame. So like if you look at this person right here, they're a customer service representative. They were an inventory specialist. My assumption is if we look through their resume, they have that forklift experience, but maybe it's from several years ago. So the system deems it not as relevant. And that's sort of how to think about that match score. So it doesn't mean that they're not a good fit at 7%, but they probably don't have as much experience, or it's much older experience. On the reverse side of that, if you are trying to say, well, how come I'm not finding people who are better matches, right? That would be something where I'd want to look at my search. So I would look at my overall search and I would take a look to see what kind of matches I'm getting in total, right? So did I get some people who were, a 93% match? Is my search really giving me what I want? And if it's not, I would start to think about what's missing, right? And that's where I would add to my search and refine my results. So that might mean I need to change my job title, or that might mean that I need to add specific, additional keywords to my search. Any criteria to help narrow it down to more of what I'm looking for. So you will get some people that are, a lower match because they do match, and so those are ones that you want to probably take a quick glance at, and they may not be the right fit, so you can kind of quickly move on, but I would still take a look at them. All right. Other questions or need any clarification on that?
I think that helped. I thought to myself, how is 7% a match? Now
I know.
You give me a little bit of an idea. I might have to look deeper in the resume, but that also means they may not really be a good fit.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of, to me, that's where, I understand why people think that because you think, well, it should be a great match. But that's how the system thinks a little bit. I know, we'll see if there's any more questions. If there's any more questions, I guess, put them in there, or you can feel free to ask. But I also want to make sure that maybe you all go in, if you haven't done already. I was kind of talking through the questions and what we did, but go ahead and turn on a notification for your search. Just test it out, even if you leave it on for tonight, right? See if you get that. You should actually get the email the first day, because the system kind of says, hey, this is brand new. Of course, there's new people. So just so you can see what that looks like and get a feel for it. You can always come back in and quickly turn it off too, in case it's not an active search that you've got a position that you're recruiting for. I think we did, yeah, we already did that one. Okay. All right, so we went through all the exercises that I set up, and we've really kind of gone through all the pieces that I think at this point you'll all be using. Are there any questions or anything else that anybody wants to see?
I have a question about the folders. They don't expire after any amount of time, or nothing's going to, I guess, go away or erase. That's something that would be in there. Like, if I set up a folder and it's, 2 months from now, it's still going to be there.
Yes, so that's a very good question. So the folders do not go away. They will be there. I hesitate to say forever, because at some point, Monster may kind of clean some stuff out, but you would get fair warning, and it would be like you would have still 7, 8 years of data. Like, so they will be there. They're not going anywhere. The only thing that I will mention is on the folder page, look down here, see how it tells me that I'm looking from 10/17/21 to 12/16/21. That's in terms of the resumes. So in other words, if you have a forklift technician, since I know that's something that gets hired for frequently, right? If you go into your forklift technician folder one day and you're like, huh, I really thought I had more than, you know, a couple people in there. It might just be that the resumes were put in there prior to 60 days ago. So just know that you can just change that. And you can go further back. I can do, you know, a year at a time. I don't have anything in this folder, but so you can go back further and the resumes won't go anywhere. It's just the system's kind of keeping the filter more in present time as opposed to further in the past.
Okay, perfect. And then one more question while you're on this page, like we'll use William as an example. Say I spoke with William or I left him a voicemail today. Where are you putting those notes again? So I'm not, you know, double calling, or if I spoke to him and he's not, where are you putting those, I guess, ATS notes?
Yeah, so you can put your notes right in here. So you can go into William and you've got an add a note option, or you can simply click it right here. And then it will be in the activity. So I'll show you when I click on William. It'll be in the activity section right here.
Okay, the activity section in his profile.
Yep.
Okay. Because that's going to be important for us, especially if we're, you know, reaching out to candidates. If I have a list of 10 candidates that, or, you know, resumes of people that I'm reaching out to today, in 30 days from now, I don't want to read. It's nice to see those notes so we're not reaching out to people multiple times, or if they're not qualified. So that's important to know. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey, Maggie, clarification. So like, for example, if Jessica has a team, do they get to see each other's notes?
Jen, I might need your help on this one because depending on how everyone's set up, if
yeah, Jessica, they would, just because Jessica would be, her team would be her dealership.
Okay.
So
perfect.
if she selected, and I think Maggie went over this earlier in the demonstration, that company-wide share or private with notes. So if it's company-wide, that's really dealership-wide. So again, you know, Jessica's team would be able to see her notes, or if she kept it private, only she would see the notes. Does that answer the question? I think that was Evelyn.
Yep, it was Evelyn. And does that mean that she has to share, like they can have a shared forklift technician folder as well at that level?
They could. I don't know if they're set up like that today, but it would be a simple change from our customer service team. They can, so you can see here, like I have the access. You would just go to folder actions and say share edit folder members. And then the people who are within her dealership that have access, she would be able to see their, she would be able to see their names. And I would simply, or she would just simply click on it and add them. So if it was only one person that needed to see that, you could just keep it to one person. But if everybody did, she could just add everybody. So when you go in there, Jessica, if you don't see this, let us know. We can have our customer service team turn it on for you.
Okay, perfect. And then does that, you know, I can do that for my team. Can they do that on their end? Will they have access to do that?
We could give it to everybody on the team.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, let's do some, we'll do some digging on our end, and then we can follow back up if we don't see that as an option.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
How do we, and this may be for later, but like when we start getting our organic, like our talent network, would we be able to organize things in the same folder? Or is it a different process?
You're still going to be logging on. So you're going to still be logging on to your Monster account, just like you're doing now. There's only a few of the dealerships, 5 out of the 19 that are doing the ATS integration. That will be separate. We'll do a different training for them, but the majority, the remaining 14, will be doing just what they're doing, logging in to their Monster, to the Monster account to access the resumes.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
All right, anything else?
Yeah, maybe like if we're getting, are you going to a next item or are you getting close to the end?
No, I think we've pretty much gone through everything. Unless there's something else somebody's like, oh, I wanted to see, you know, something again, or if I missed something. I think we got through everything.
Yeah, so then just in closing comments, if there's not any questions that people want to continue to address, you know, we do want to get feedback on, you know, how, if you are able to, you know, hire people, right, from this process, and then more importantly, hire any technicians. So just, you know, closing thoughts here is just think about, you know, how many technician roles you have open or openings. It could be even junior, you know, positions that can lead up to technician role. And when we get back together in January, we do want to measure against, like, you know, how quickly as a team we can get, you know, you candidates for those positions, and seeing what additional strategies we need to deploy to help you guys out. But we do need kind of like a target list in order to figure out, you know, how well we're doing as a team. Bob, do you want to add any? Oh yeah, Bob left. He doesn't have any closing comments. Roger, do you want to add any comments?
No closing comments. Well, yes, maybe. So just for everyone on the call, just if you have any questions whatsoever, the HYG team as well as Monsters is here to help you. Right, this is a service that you're paying for. So if there's someone that's not even on the call that may have questions later, please reach out to us so we can assist you in using this tool.
Perfect.
Thank you for the run through and the hands-on experience is always better, so appreciate that.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Maggie is fabulous. All right, if there's no additional questions for right now, I know that some may come up. Enjoy the rest of your week. If we don't talk, please enjoy the holidays. Be safe, be merry, and we'll talk in the new year.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Maggie.
Thanks, everybody.
Jen, will you send this? Will you send this out? Looks like Jen is gone.
Yeah, can you just follow up with her and just have her send out the video recording as well as the PowerPoint, Roger?
Yes, I'll reach
And then
out
we need
now.
to, I know you have a box area. Maybe we can load it up in the box area for all the dealers to access. And like keep tabs of it.
Okay. Yes, I'll reach out now and get that.
And can you also schedule the campaign review? And I do want Kelly Vickers to be on that call for that one.
Okay. Should we I guess, you know, we're going to have our start our sessions in January, should the first one, that could be maybe the first session, just on the campaign.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Yeah, the campaign one would be great, I think. So
Okay.
let's do that. And I just want to make sure Kelly and the marketing team can be on it, because after that, we need to kind of take a step back and say, okay, how are we going to use that tool?
Okay.
Okay, great.
All right.
Talk to you later, Roger.
Talk soon.
Bye.